What is up, my friend? Welcome to episode number 88 of the Anthony Dynamics podcast. This turned out to be a stellar episode, if I may say so myself. I brought on one of my past clients to talk shop about online marketing, and we got into this incredible conversation about how to create an irresistible offer and how spirituality actually helps marketing convert better, which is very counterintuitive. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. I truly believe this episode will blow your mind. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Anthony John Amix podcast, the one and only podcast designed to help you become unstoppable in life and business. My name is Anthony John Amix. My friends call me AJ, and my goal with this podcast is to help you remember who you truly are so you can maintain your center in the chaos, embody your potential, and unlock freedom in your life and business. That being said, let's get into today's show.
All right, welcome back. Now, before I tell you about today's guest, I want to let you know about my book called Mindset is Not Enough. It's a book designed to help entrepreneurs escape from the internal pressure that keeps them feeling frustrated, unfulfilled, and burnt out. It reveals 4 ancient steps to having unshakable clarity, confidence, and certainty. This way you can lead your industry, your market, your team, and your clients with driven inspiration, unwavering conviction, and power. And you can get the entire book for free by going to ajamix.com/book. Again, ajamix.com/book. So make sure you grab your copy today. So let's talk about today's guest, shall we? His name is Colin Scotland with one L. Colin with one L. He's a brilliant marketer out in the UK. And several years ago, he heard me speak on a virtual summit. He then reached out to me over on Twitter, and we had a powerful conversation, and he decided to coach with me. And he told me during this conversation today, and you'll hear about it yourself, how the coaching was life transformational for him in his personal life and his business. And he has just this incredible story, how he went from like owing the bank £500,000, which is more than $500,000, to having a 6-figure online business that allows him to live his ideal lifestyle. He knows online marketing inside and out. He's on a mission to really help people who are kind of like mission-driven entrepreneurs, I guess is what you'd call them. And overall, he's just an incredible human being. So with that being said, let's bring him onto the show. Colin Scotland, welcome to the podcast, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome today. Thank you for asking, AJ.
You're welcome, man. I wanted to get this thing kicked off because we're just like having a great time here, like pre-podcast. I'm like, dude, this is such a good conversation. We just got to get this thing kicked off so we can just keep this ball rolling, man. Because I feel like when you and I are together, I feel like it's just like I've known you my entire life. I know I've coached you in the past, but when I coach people, it's to me, it's not just like a client relationship. Like I really try to not even go out of my way, maybe just be who I am. I just see people as people, and I really value a relationship. And you're one of those relationships I genuinely value just because I feel like I've known you my entire life, even though I haven't.
Well, thank you, man. I'm humbled and honored, and the feeling's mutual. It's the work that you and I did together really has been transformational in my life, and then subsequently in the lives of the people that I coach now, you know?
So good. How has that impacted you, man? Like I've completely journeyed way, same but different, but I'm just curious, like how it's helped.
So, I think when you and I first chatted, it was about it. I came in looking at marketing, funnels, all of the marketing-y type stuff. That was my background. That was my history. And at that point in my life, self-development, emotions, spirituality, they didn't really exist to me. So when I had the conversation with you and you asked me a question about the relationship with my father, about my faith, about, my relationships with my wife and my loved ones and all of that, I was a bit knocked back, really, if I'm honest, at the time, because I was thinking, this isn't funnels, this isn't marketing. and so to me, it was a little alien concept to think about me and self and, who does that? And so it really opened a door. It opened a door to me that has changed everything.
Yeah, really I want to talk about that. How has it changed everything? And this is one of the things that I value about you is you're a wizard with content marketing and funnels. Like, it very, very well. You're one of the best people in the UK, in my opinion. And I'm starting to watch your content starting to shift and change too. Like you're still putting out content on marketing, but there's a lot of more spirituality that's like coming in and interweaving into your content. So I'm curious, because I think a lot of people miss this piece of the game, which is like the self piece
because that's what's showing up inside of the game of marketing. So how have you seen that change marketing since you had not leveraged that part inside the game of marketing for a long time?
It's kind of like there's that Zen saying, isn't there, about the tree, right? The tree that is dead is brittle and hollow and empty on the inside. And if we press on the tree, it breaks and shatters into pieces. Marketing without the spiritual aspect, without the deeper connectedness, is like that brittle, broken tree. And so the tree that has life flowing through it, that has energy flowing through it, is subtle, it's soft, it's pliable, it moves in the wind, it doesn't break, it gives and it doesn't yield. And this to me is the power of marketing from a place of integrity, which is linked to connectedness, to the source, to God, to the universe, to however you choose to describe that. And so really what's happened since the work that you and I did together, I've been on a journey of discovery of what that means for me personally, and then translating that into what that means for the people that I work with. And you know, the crazy thing about all of this is the marketing doesn't work without that. That, without amazing marketing, actually works. That's the crazy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know?
Now, are you finding that when you say the marketing doesn't work without it, that it just means, I'm trying to put words around this and it's kind of difficult. Are you saying like you get more results with less effort?
Absolutely. So, Mary Angelou says, people don't remember the words that you say, they remember how you make them feel. And so there is an invisible thing at play in our existence as human beings. We call it spirituality, consciousness, higher self, however we describe it. And so if we just say words or just do marketing tactics, then they have little to no effect. You know, you throw enough mud on a wall, some of it will stick. Whereas the deeper message, the invisible message behind it is your intention and your willingness and wantingness to serve the person that you're serving, that you're delivering your transformation to. And so when you kind of get to the root of that, that's when it just kind of works like, well, it's like a massive explosion, right? It's totally different to just going through the motions of, oh, and this was me, right? I came to you, oh, I need a webinar, I need a funnel, I need this, I need that, I need the other. And actually I didn't need any of that. I needed to get out of my own way and realize why I'm on this planet, what I'm called here to do. And that is what makes all of the difference.
Awesome. What have you landed on that you're here to do?
So for me, it's really about showing people that light that's inside of them. We are all these amazing creatures, these amazing beings, and yet we stay trapped in our heads, in fear, in allowing mediocrity to rule our lives, yet yearning and wanting for something bigger, something more. So for me, it's just about showing people inwards and saying, look how beautiful you are. And when they see that their eyes light up and they become a different person in an instant. And so the vehicle that I deliver that is marketing, because I help them to build an online presence and all of those kinds of things, right? But that's not what's happening. What's happening is they are seeing themselves as this light, and it's that light that then shines out into the world. That's all I'm here to do, man, is to show people that light.
I so love it. I love it, man. And now, are you still working with schools, or are you working in a different market place and small businesses and so forth?
Yeah, so I originally was a consultant, as you know, working in organizations, in schools and small businesses, like traditional brick and mortar type businesses, and then a bit of e-commerce and stuff like that. And because I've made quite a transition and a shift over the last few years internally to this more kind of mission driven, the people that are resonating with my message have changed as well. So it tends to be mission driven entrepreneurs, people looking to change the world, people looking to make an impact, people looking to contribute and be significant in the lives of others.
Amazing. Amazing. And what are you seeing working well in the marketing game right now? Like, definitely adding light into the marketing game is helping amplify that message, because the frequency of the messenger is always greater than the message. But what are you finding on the messaging side that's working and the content marketing side that's working strategically well right now?
So I think what's really important is that everything that you do from a marketing perspective always comes back to the person that you're doing that thing for, the problem that they have, the issues and the pain and the frustration that you solve. And if you keep everything tied to that, then you can't really go far wrong, because you hold everything that you do, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a piece of content, you hold that up against the yardstick of, does this help this person solve that problem? Does it fit that? And if it does, we run with it. If it doesn't, we don't. And so having that authentic approach, the word authentic's way overused, isn't it? But authentic in that it actually solves part of the problem for our client. And it's not about us, it's about solving the problem for the client. So using that driving force of service and genuinely wanting to make a difference in the lives of the people that we serve, that to me is how we measure the things that work and don't. And the tactics are the tactics are the tactics. And we could, 1 week this tactic might work, next week that tactic might work. And this is what I was on about with the tree. It's if we connect and it has the energy flowing through it, all and any tactics can work.
So good. We put together this thing called the Offer Codex, which was helping people create their irresistible offers. Because I think in this marketplace, lots of people don't spend enough time on the offer. Like, they get onto the tactics, or the spiritual people get into the spirit, but they don't really take time to really nail down a good offer. And so we kind of put this thing together that was essentially an irresistible offer. Consists of your marketing to the right person with the right problem, with the right promise, from the right position, with the right process, with the right price, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is part of the marketing is coming back to that simple, basic truth, to really get really clear on who do you feel called to is that right person, and who do you feel called, like what problem do you feel called to solve, like what specific problem do you feel called to solve, and what is that specific promise that you feel called to deliver to the people. And then starting to get into, well, what is that right positioning of that offer, and what is your specific process, and then how do you find a right price. Is that what you're kind of saying, is like coming back a little bit and getting really clear on that, and amplifying it with the light, the soul that we are, and then diving into the tactical side of things?
AJ, you're good, man. You're
Thank
good.
you.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And really it is stripping it right back to that core. More often than not, most people, and I've been victim of this, most people focus on what they do, the products that they have, the services that they have, and they focus on them. We've been in business this long and we've done this and we do that and we can help you do that. And that's all I hear in all of that is me, 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 me. Yeah. And so it's just about stripping that away, you getting out of the way long enough to actually serve. And so it is really, as basic as it sounds, it's actually so profound. And that's all there is. The Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK, they define marketing as identifying and satisfying needs profitably. That's it. Doesn't go any deeper, doesn't go any further than that. So what are those needs that we satisfy, and what is the process by which we satisfy them? That's the yardstick by which we measure everything.
So good. Now, why don't you think more people aren't taking the time to get clear on that I call it basic, but it's very counterintuitive to start there. Why aren't more people getting clear on that?
I think the clarity of whom you serve actually goes hand in hand with your own purpose, your own why, and your own connectedness. There's a growth and exploration element at play in this. And so often we, without even realizing it, remain limited in how we see the impact that we can have. We don't believe that we can change the world. You know, maybe in 10 years when I've made $50 million or I've done this and I've done that, and, you know, but that's for future Colin. Colin right now can change the world. What are you saying to me? And so we have this limit that we place on ourselves. And so they go hand in hand. And so really, when you're on that journey of growth for yourself, then things start to open up. Possibility starts to open up.
Do you find when working with clients, a lot of them want to go to the doing piece of the tactical and the strategy rather than what I believe is the real work, which is you're guiding people to do, which is getting clear on their messaging and their offer. And it's tedious work. Like sometimes, to be honest, at least for me, it's not the funnest of work to sit down at a blank screen and be like, all right, the right person and the right promise, and like bang that out on a blank screen. And I think a lot of people aren't like, they don't find significance in that, right? Like they're looking outside of themselves for significance. So they want to go do the tactical stuff and the cool funnels rather than coming back to the core principles and implementing them.
Yeah, you're so right. And one of the things that I do as kind of the first exercises that we play with is something I call the 2 circles exercise. And it's based around a Japanese concept called ikigai, which is reason for being. And it's a process of looking inwards before we look outwards. And it asks the question of, well, what am I good at? What would people value that I know? And how can I bring my skill to the world? What might that look like? What would my perfect day be? Where would I wake up? Who would I wake up next to? What would I have for breakfast? How would I live that day out? What would I spend the day doing? You know, and then it helps to do that kind of reflective piece in a way that doesn't feel like a job, like work, because that's when it's painful, isn't it? When it's hard work, you know?
Totally. Absolutely. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs and world leaders and changers making inside the game here?
I think the biggest battle that any of us face on the planet, whether we are running a country or we are running a business or we are running a house and whatever that looks like, the biggest battle that any of us face is the one against ego and mind. And we don't say that too often, do we? We say, oh, it's this, it's that guy over there, it's that girl over there. And actually it's not, it's in here. It's the battle that we face in here against ego and mind. And there is a collectiveness to that in society as a whole, but there is such a great internal battle going on. And so that to me is the biggest mistake anybody can make, is to ignore that and not do the work. Do the work to get through that, to make, you're never through it. It's a daily battle, isn't it?
Sure.
But, you know, that would be, oh, I've done it. Hey, I've done it. I woke up today and I've done it. But actually doing that work, because it takes time, it takes effort, it takes dedication. It's a daily practice. It's a daily struggle. And so that to me is ignoring that. Oh, I'll do that later. Yeah, I won't meditate today. I'll get into that when I've got this job done or that piece out of the way. So focusing on you or not focusing on you, I guess, is the biggest mistake.
And what is the work? Is the work focusing on you, or is it something different?
I think it's a combination. And like all of us, we're learning and feeling our way through this, aren't we? And understanding and growing every day, right?
Yes.
So my answer today might be different tomorrow. But right now, for me, the work is looking at what those things are to help me be a better human being, to show up in my fullest power. What does that look like? How do I need to change me and challenge me and love me and be brutally honest with me in order to become the best version of me that I can? And then in doing that, what that does is it unlocks connectedness to everybody, because each and every one of us are entangled. You know, we are all interconnected. Every living organism on the planet, in the entire universe, is interconnected by divine intelligence. And so doing that inner reflective work opens up, It's crazy, isn't it? We look inwards and we see the whole universe.
I know.
Looking inwards opens up the whole universe to us. That is the work. And that is like, well, I get tingles in the back of my neck just saying that, you know, it's like, whoa.
Amazing. What has been one of your biggest breakthroughs of your life so far?
Oh, that's a great question, isn't it? One of the biggest breakthroughs came for me when I was reading Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I was beginning this process not long after you and I did some coaching work together. And I was looking at this concept of, it's called Sunder, of that, and it's linked to connectedness. So I started looking in. You sent me on a journey of looking inwards, right? And then I realized, every other human being on the planet has their own beliefs, has their own thoughts, has their own fears and hopes and aspirations and hates and loves and all of this. And you know, in that moment, it was like it opened that door, and all of a sudden I wasn't kind of, you know, honking at people in the road that were cutting me up. I was thinking, oh, what about, you know, what's happened in your day that's made you drive like that? You know what? And so Helen Schumann in the Course in Miracles, right? She talks about choosing love, not fear, and, you know, choosing the positive and not the negative. And so for me, that was like a doorway to that, to love, to choosing love. That was a catalyst for me, that this term of Sunder, which is like, you know, I don't even know where it comes from. I need to look that up. But it's this idea that everybody on the planet is connected, and we all have our own hopes, aspirations, and the empathy and the love that brings up is just powerful.
So good. One of the things, since you brought up Course in Miracles, I don't meet many people who have studied Course in Miracles, so I'm excited about this concept. And so on my board over here on my calendar, one of my quotes from Course in Miracles is a question when faced with a problem. Will you be host to God, or will you be hostage to the ego? Like, that's the wrapping in which anytime we're experiencing some feedback that we're like, oh, this is a little disempowering. What do we got going on here? Then that becomes kind of my anchor, is like, am I going to be the host to God in this moment? Or am I going to be the hostage to the ego? Like, those are the two paths, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting you say that, because when we talk about the work is in flexing our muscles to the point where in that moment we can catch ourselves. So in that moment, we can take a moment to breathe and decide how we're going to react. So I'm a huge Stephen Covey fan, and Stephen says that in the moment between stimulus and response, we have a choice. We have a choice, but only if we do the work which allows us to be mindful and present can we make that decision. Often people go through life adrift and not able to catch themselves to make that choice.
And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't even I mean, they are drifting, that's true, but their default emotional state day to day is they're experiencing frustration and anger. Meaning, anytime we're experiencing anger, at the root of it is just, we have an unmet need. It's very simple. It's like, I have this need, I have this desire, whatever, and it's not being met. And so therefore I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm overwhelmed, which is all just little fractals of anger, right? A desire for change. And I think for a lot of high producers, especially in this entrepreneurial space, they that's where their default is, because a lot of them, they're either apathetic because they said anger is bad and they shut that part of themselves down, or they'll be in their anger and then they're projecting that anger outside of them onto other people, onto their employees, onto their staff members, etc. And they're in the drift, right? They're in the drift, but their experience is anger because they're not taking space, because I don't have time to take space. I got to create, I got to produce. They're not taking space to remember who they are, which is that soul in control, where they then can choose how they're going to respond, because they're just reacting to the anger just constantly. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes total sense. Absolutely. And again, if you think about that, if we were coaching that person that you've just described right now, the work isn't in another marketing funnel.
Right.
The work is in that person recognizing that there's a disturbance in the force. Yeah. You know, our soul is like a great lake, and it's it's never entirely still. There are always ripples on the surface of the water, and those ripples are a sign of disturbances in the force. And so when we feel anger, it's a sign that there's something that needs work, because we're unhappy. We want things to be other than what they are.
Totally. So I'm curious where you've landed on getting some feedback and you experience the range of emotions, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's sexuality, whether it's joy, it's peace, and any fractal of all of those core emotions. How do you deal with those? Because I feel like a lot of people, especially when they go down the spiritual path, they're Zen, and that's great. And the reality is we're not in that state all the time. We're going to experience some contrast as a human being. So how have you found some ways to handle and respond to that contrast?
Such a great question. Just as badly as everybody else.
I love it. I love it.
So the Zen saying, right? Before enlightenment, chopping wood.
Yeah.
After enlightenment, chopping wood.
That's right.
Yeah. So no different to anybody else. Like shit, man.
So good.
Yeah,
So
like
good.
not great. So sometimes I catch and I'm like, I can be great. Other times I'm screaming at the top of my voice with anger, and it's like, oh no,
So
I would
good.
be lying. I would be lying if I said it otherwise, because that's just not how this journey is.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said this. And this is one thing I respect about you is you're just like, hey, here's who I am. Nothing to prove, nothing to defend. And it's a beautiful place to be. And unfortunately, I feel like when so many people start talking about consciousness and spirituality, they wrap it inside a container where there's just love and there's surrender. And there totally is that 100%. And there's also we're human beings having a human experience. And the
Mhm.
gift is the dance and learning how to, I think, shorten that gap between how we're going to respond. Sometimes we do react, but learning how to respond and shortening the amount of time that it takes for us to become centered and remember that, oh man, I am the soul in control. I am a sovereign creator. I'm in control of this. What do I experience, and moving that experience, moving that emotion through us, and then channeling it into how we want to respond. And hopefully, if we're on point, then we choose love. But it's a dance to get there.
It is a dance. I love that word dance. It's so true, because there's that movement, there's that interplay, and it's never, sometimes it's in harmony, other times you're treading on each other's toes, and it is definitely that movement. I love what Michael Singer talks about in The Untethered Soul, right? When he speaks about the starting with little things.
Yeah.
So the driving in the car, that was a one for me. I would literally be screaming out of the winding the window down and screaming out, oh, what are you doing? Honking on the horn, and so start with the little things. It's difficult. It's difficult to choose how you respond if somebody dies, if there is a serious illness or something big happens in your life. But starting and playing with little things is almost a bit of a game, right?
Yeah.
And he tells this really, I love that guy. He tells a wonderful story in his lectures about driving down the road, and somebody's doing 18 miles an hour in a 30 or something like that. And he makes it a game. Hey, I wonder, could you do 16? Could you do 12? Could you get down to 10? And then you're kind of creating this shift in energy from one of, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And it's just like gamifying the whole experience. So one of the things I love to do is to play and be playful with it as much as possible, right? There are times when you need to be serious. I try not to be, but there are moments when you have to. And wherever you can be playful in situations, that to me is a real door opener.
Yeah,
To
let's
making
let's talk
progress.
about play, because this week inside some of the groups that I coach and guide, it's been a theme, this idea of play. And entrepreneurs, especially, I think, have forgotten how to play. I think probably actually most adults have forgotten how to play. I'm guilty of that myself, and learning how to get more and more in tune to that and play. But what I'm seeing inside the lives of my clients is the more that they choose to consciously create time to go play, and that means different things to different people, they actually make more money. It's very counterintuitive. And so I'm wondering, like, because I know you're diving and you have dove fully back into jiu-jitsu, you're in great shape. Has that actually not only, number one, fed your soul, but has it also fed your bank account?
100%. Because the thing is, listen, let's face it. If I finish work at 12 noon on a Friday and go to the gym, go for a run, go and have a jiu-jitsu session, I feel guilty as hell. Let's be real, right? It's hard to do because I'm thinking, I really need to get that video done. I need to do that project for that client. You know, I was working on this funnel and I need to get it out of the door. So you're constantly battling. It's not like you ring fence the time and you're enjoying that break as downtime. But what it does is it's intentional recovery, and it resets, and it allows you to have thoughts and be creative in ways that you could never be when you've got your shoulder to the wheel. Look at the theory of relativity, the apple on the head, the gravity, all of these things. That didn't happen in a lab. That happened because the guy was sat under a tree.
Yeah. So
you know,
I've never thought of that illustration, but that's a perfect one. And it's true. Like, I feel like so many times entrepreneurs are producing. And the thing is like, we're electrical beings. And so if we're giving, it's just like, if you exhale, you keep exhaling, and you can only do it for so long before you have to take in an inhale and breathe again, right? So we can actually continue to give, right? And it goes back to that whole adage, like the glass can only spill what it contains. And so if I'm a 8-ounce glass of coffee or whatever the size of this mug is, if I want to spill out more coffee, I got to get a bigger glass so I can then pour coffee in there. And if I want to spill it out, I could, or drink it, or whatever I choose to do with it. And we humans are the same way. And by consciously doing things like running or jujitsu, I have friends of mine, I have clients of mine who have bought a one wheel, which is like a one-wheeled skateboard, I guess you would call it. And it's this little electrical crazy device. They use that as their recharge time, and they're having fun and they're playing. And it's resets. It just resets. So when we come back into the game, we have more capacity, more space to then access this great intelligence that every human has access to then channel it into creation, however we choose to channel that into creation. It's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. And, you know, I think we have to recognize that life doesn't fit into little boxes. This isn't Colin at work. This isn't Colin at play. This isn't Colin with his wife and kids. Right. Colin is Colin. And the work that we talk about is really shaving away all of the nonsense that makes you have to be any different in any of those situations. And so the playfulness can be part of the work. Totally. The playfulness can be part of all of those different avenues and areas of life. In fact, they should be. They should be. That's what we strive to do, isn't it? Is to work at something that we love and we find playful and energetic and enlivening, but also to have that same joy across all areas of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. And dude, to kind of land this plane here, I'm kind of curious if you could go back in time and no problems. If you need grab it, feel free.
No, it's just the landline. It doesn't normally ring, but I apologize for that.
Man, you UK people, you guys are stuck back in history. You guys still have landlines. What is this?
Only for the internet, you know. We have to have the landline is our internet connection to the world. So
I swear, you guys hold on to your castles. You hold on to all of your now apparently ancient technology known as landlines.
I love it.
So funny, dude. I love your country. We were there in January. We were in Canterbury, and we're actually staying in Bridge, a little town of Bridge, and a little country town. And dude, it was awesome. I had no idea that you guys just let people walk through your land like it's just a normal thing. In America, you get shot for that type of thing, especially here in Texas. But you guys are like, hey, walk on the land. It was amazing. It was fantastic.
We have to have that freedom because the land is so small, right?
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. But my last question for you is like, if you could go back in time and really give your younger self some wisdom to help you collapse time and get results, what would you tell them?
Oh man, you know, I don't think I'd listen, but I would try anyway. and it would be to start that journey. I met you, AJ, must be 6-7 years ago now, 6 years, something like that. And that trigger of that journey of self-reflection, of self-discovery, of self-learning, of self-love, of exploring, you know, being honest with myself and nurturing me in that sense from an emotional, spiritual perspective. I just wish I'd have started that a lot sooner than I did. And so I would encourage myself to read The Untethered Soul, to explore meditation and spirituality sooner rather than later, man.
Awesome. And if people want that, are like, on a mission, they're mission-driven entrepreneurs, if they want to learn how to get that mission out into the world and amplify their influence and their income and their impact, where do they go to learn about you? How can they connect with you?
Super easy. So my world is over at colinscotland.com. And you can see all of the crazy stuff that I play with. And my vehicle is marketing, right? I've been in marketing for so many years. I was a lecturer in marketing. And so that's the vehicle by which I deliver this transformation. So there we go. It's all at colinscotland.com.
Awesome. And is there any like free training there or books or anything they can download?
Yeah, ton, too many to list.
Awesome.
Most of what I do over there is free. So
awesome. Yeah. So colinscotland.com. You guys go over there. Colin, thank you so much, brother, for being here today. Really appreciate you.
My pleasure. You too, man. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, my friend, Colin Scotland. What an amazing conversation. I didn't really want that to end. I mean, the concepts and the philosophies that we got to talk about, coupled with his incredible British accent, it was just awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. The stuff we talked about in creating the solid offer, I'm telling you, that is solid gold. And I'm just going to recap that for you because it's so good. An irresistible offer is to the right person with the right problem, with the right promise, from the right position, and with the right process at the right price. Now, my friend Jonathan Hess and I have created a course all on how to create an irresistible offer called the Offer Codex. And that's where, I guess, that poetic way of framing an irresistible offer really comes from. So I just wanted to recap that for you, anchor that for you, because it's so important, because it impacts every tactical thing that you do in marketing. And really getting that offering and that messaging dialed in, that really is the real work. And like I said during the podcast, it's not sexy sitting down at a blank screen and hammering on the keyboard trying to get that messaging dialed in, but that is the work that makes you millions and millions of dollars in this game of building an online personal brand. So I hope this episode inspired you in some way, and if it did, I'd love to hear about it. Simply take a screenshot of you listening to this episode on your device, post it over to your Instagram stories, and tag me at AJ Amix. And also, let's tag Colin as well. Colin Scotland over on Instagram. That's Colin with one L, Colin Scotland. So just tag us over on your Instagram stories. That'd be super epic. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Anthony John Amix podcast. Till next time, my friend, I'm out. Peace.
Well, that's all I've got for this episode of the Anthony John Amix podcast, but we have plenty more to help you become unstoppable in life and business. So head on over to ajamix.com for exclusive resources, information, and tools to help you break through to a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Bye for now.